What's up, everybody? Dylan Napoleon back here, host of CT Bait Shop Stops. Today we're throwing a little bit of a curveball at you guys, and we're doing a guide fishing service. Not so much of a bait shop stop. We're interviewing my buddy Tristan Wilgan, who owns Tristan's Fishing Guide Service. And yeah, we're gonna go through a quick interview. He'll tell us about his guide service, how to book him, etc. So go ahead, go ahead and introduce yourself.
So I'm Tristan Wilgan, 22 years old. Been guiding for 3 years now. I think we'll touch on that more later, but hope you guys enjoy the interview and some of the knowledge and things I share.
All right, thank you. Get right into it and start off with our first question. Tell us the story of how you got into fishing and what makes you so dedicated.
So I got into fishing when I was 3 years old. My dad took me out on ponds and lakes when I was that little, just worm and bobber, fishing for little small bluegill, largemouth bass, trout, in trout parks around the state. And as I got older, I just evolved into getting more immersed into fishing. My dad took me to more places. The rivers like Housatonic when I was 7 years old. I started on that river. And I mean, ever since, if I can think back, probably about 7 or 8 years old, when I was that age, I really got into it. And I just loved fishing, loved being outside, and just having the ability to go to any body of water, pretty much, throw a cast, catch fish, and be able to do something year-round that I enjoyed, that was outside. And so what makes me dedicated is, like I said, I just got into it really heavily. And then when I was 15, I sustained a traumatic brain injury on my bike. I used to race BMX on BMX, just dirt tracks around the state. And so the silver lining to that was it kind of kickstarted my career, I guess, as a guide into fly fishing. I wasn't able to do real high impact action sports anymore. I could only do low impact things, and fly fishing was a perfect activity for that. So from about 15 to about 20 years old, I just grinded fishing every day as much as I could, learning entomology, different ways of fishing, different tactics, and how to catch trout, bass, and everything, as many fish as I could, and learning every little thing about a river and the intricacies of fly fishing. And now, me being 22, I'm definitely still young. Fishing is never mastered and you never learn anything, but I've definitely obtained an immense amount of knowledge through all the hours I put in myself on the water. And this year alone, if I go fishing today, this will be day 111 of me fishing straight.
Gotta keep it up.
Oh yeah.
All right, well, question number 2. Where have you been guiding and fishing the most lately, in the past couple months?
So I work for the fly shop, Housatonic River Outfitters on the Housatonic River. I've done 22 trips this season since May 15th, I think was my first one. So it's been all on the Housatonic. Started with trout, and caught some bass with them too mixed in. And then once the water got too warm for trout, once the water temps hit 70, which was about mid-June, I switched over to all smallmouth with my clients, and the shop's clients, sorry, because I work for the shop. And that's been it. So I've had a good mix of trout and bass caught on some trips. I had one trip catch a carp, that was really fun. And lately it's just been bass in the river, anywhere from your average 12, 13-inch fish, but we've had some 16-inch fish come to the net too, which has been pretty cool.
Awesome. Well, I know you touched upon this before, but how many years have you been guiding?
So this will be my 3rd year. My first guide trip I actually did independently through myself when I was 20. I had met someone on the river in, I think, February or March of 2018. And I talked to him. He's like, yeah, Tristan, I'd love to book you. Took him a few months, which was totally okay. And then right after my 20th birthday, I think May 21st was the day I guided him. It was my first trip. He had a fish on within, I think, 5 minutes. He was learning how to fly fish, and the entire trip lasted about 4 hours. I did a half day with him, and he landed 12 trout, got trifecta, caught brookies, rainbows, and browns. And that just kind of made me think, wow, I actually can teach people efficiently and get them to understand more advanced things in simpler ways of me trying to teach it that way. And it was really exciting to know that, okay, this works. I can get people to fish. I want to continue with this. and from then on, I've done more than 60 trips to date.
Awesome. Well, what's special about the way you guide and how you interact and treat your clients?
So what's special about me, I think, is that I tend to be just real laid back about it. I would never yell at a client, never raise my voice if they did something wrong. It's all about fishing, just having fun. I tend not to take it super seriously because, like I said, you and some friends on the river, or you and clients, or if you're with a guide, it should just be about having fun and taking something away that you learned that day. So I always tell everyone, I'm like, look, have fun, ask me questions. I am a wealth of knowledge. I can answer anything to the best of my ability. And what I want at the end of the day is for you to say, wow, that was a lot of fun. Tristan, you were real laid back. I didn't feel any pressure throughout the day, and I learned something or learned a bunch of things. That's what I want for everyone. And I do get some really good feedback that, hey, Tristan, had a great day, had a lot of fun. I really appreciate you being cool and laid back about everything. Because again, I don't want to yell. It should just be taken real lightly and just have fun. So I'd say what's special about fishing with me, if I could just sum it up, is you're gonna have just a fun day on the water. It's gonna be very relaxed. You'll get away from everything, all the stressors of life, and you'll take away something new that you learned.
Great answer. Well, I know you tie a lot of your own flies. You're not too much of a fly buyer, I guess you say. You tie most of your own stuff, and always taught me, because Tristan's been someone that taught me how to fly fish, always taught me not to buy and get into the tying game. But what kind of flies have you been tying the most lately?
So I've been tying stuff based on what's been hatching. I like fishing trout on the fly more than smallmouth, but obviously I love to do that. I grew up fishing smallmouth on the fly. So lately, I know Dylan and I have been up to the Farmington a few times, and I've been tying sulfurs, which is just a mayfly. I've been tying Isonychias, also a mayfly. Some caddis, which is another bug that trout eat. And I tie the bulk of my flies in the winter, and if I either forget something or I gotta tie more of something, I'll tie it the day before I go. Also streamers too, more for my guide trips for smallmouth. Big flies, 2 hooks on them, just represent a bait fish or a crayfish. So I basically have just been tying what I've needed to for my trips of personal fishing in the past few weeks, which has been mainly trout, and then some smallmouth and striped bass, saltwater stuff on the side.
All right, and our next question, when you got into this profession, were there any hardships or things that gave you a hard time in general? And I'm sure there were a lot of rewarding things as well. What were those?
So the hardships were being such a young guide as I was 20, as I said before when I started. It was tough trying to establish myself as legitimate, because I was not affiliated with the shop at the time when I started. It was tough getting my name out there and marketing myself, and it was also tough kind of streamlining things and finding the most effective ways to teach clients techniques or fly fishing in general, and teaching them in layman's terms something very simple where they can learn it efficiently without having a huge understanding of fly fishing or knowing any technical terms. And I have kind of figured that out and streamlined that, which is great. Other hardships, just figuring out exactly what patterns, what rigs, what flies are the easiest things for people new to the sport to understand why I'm using what I'm using, and making things easy to cast, easy to use, understanding basic concepts, and not being very technical like some methods of fly fishing can be. And then goals that have happened are really great things that have happened in guiding. My favorite thing is being able to be part of someone's lifetime memory, whether it being catching their first trout on the fly rod, catching a big smallmouth on the fly, or even when I do spin fishing trips, just seeing kids' faces light up when they catch five or six fish in one trip on a spin rod, or maybe even they try the fly rod and catch 1 or 2. Other goals is just knowing that my hard work and my knowledge and my skill set has paid off, and I'm able to transfer that knowledge to someone else and have them pick up the same, or even sometimes a bigger passion than myself. when I started fly fishing, they can pick that up for themselves and really get into it. And something that stuck out to me that was extremely rewarding. A few weeks ago, I guided a father and son on the Housatonic, and they were 7, and the son was 7. I think the father was late 30s. And when I took my first guided trip through the same fly shop they took it through, which I work for now, I was 7, and my dad was I think in his early 40s, and it was just so cool to see everything come full circle, from remembering me when I was 7 catching smallmouth on my spin rod, and now this many years later I'm teaching a 7-year-old how to spin fish, and he caught his first bass on a spin rod too. And I thought that was just extremely rewarding, extremely just awesome to see, and I'll remember that for the rest of my life, just seeing that really cool story come full circle after 14 or 15 years.
Awesome. Well, good answer. And moving down to our next one, if there's a client who wants to book you, I know usually you have them, well, pretty much 100% of the time you have them go through the shop, but what's the best way for them to really get in touch and start getting into the process of booking a trip?
So the best way would definitely be going through the shop. Again, it's Housatonic River Outfitters in Cornwall, Connecticut. I don't do many independent trips anymore, just because going through the shop, it's a little more streamlined. Things are a bit more organized. We have a whole system set up, and my boss, the owner of the shop, has a whole process that makes it really easy and really secure to book a trip. And it's 1, 2, 3, easy booking me. You can request me, just say, hey, I want to request Tristan for this date, so-and-so, and if I'm available, I'd be more than happy to guide you through the shop. Independently, I don't do many trips right now through myself. If I do, it's more of just small trout streams, which are too hot right now, or just smaller rivers around the state. If you really want to hone in on fly fishing skills, there's certain techniques close to home, or on smaller bodies of water rather than larger bodies of water like the Housatonic or the Farmington.
Great. All right, so like you said, a lot of your trips are booked through the Housatonic. So if someone books you on the Housatonic, what can they expect in a day of guiding?
So when you book me through the shop, you can expect to be just catered to your needs, your wants. If you want to fly fish all day for smallmouth, you want a nymph streamer fish, I can totally accommodate. If you want to fish some poppers on top, we can do that too. If you have some kids with you, I can teach you how to fish live shiners under bobbers. I can do everything from really basic spin fishing to very technical fly fishing. And you can expect just to have a lot of fun, be very relaxed, learn a thing or two, and just have a great day on the water, either by yourself. We do a lot of trips with spouses, or even a trip with your family. You can expect just a day of fun and a day of learning.
All right, great. Well, usually in our bait shop stops, when we're interviewing store owners and whatnot, we go over some spots that are nearby to the store. Obviously, we're just interviewing a guide service today, but Tristan has been fishing the Farmington and the Housatonic very religiously lately, putting a lot of hours into those rivers. So just give a little report, if you will, small report about those rivers.
So Housatonic right now, smallmouth bite is on. Spin fishing, you can use soft plastics, you can use minnows like Kitech, you can do crayfish patterns. I usually rig them on 1/8 ounce jig heads, I find is the best. And just slowly reeling them, twitching them, that'll get fish. You can also use poppers on top, and you can catch smallmouth all day, even into the night. Up there on the Housatonic, also carp are on the feed. You can look around the slower water and weed beds for carp. And then if you have a drift boat, or if you fish the slower sections on foot, you can go for a pike too with some larger baits or larger streamers if you're fly fishing. Housatonic is a great fishery right now. It's the prime time for smallmouth, and then about a month and a half or so, we'll transition back to trout. As for the Farmington, since COVID has hit, that river has seen an exponential amount of pressure, new anglers coming to it, on top of already educated and picky fish. So you can expect to catch trout, but they'll be very picky. You'll get a lot of refusals. But right now, we're starting to get to the tail end of the sulfur hatch. Isonychias have started about 2 weeks ago. Those are big bugs you can fish in some faster water. That's probably the most reliable way to pick up fish at any time of the day. Some other hatches are blueing olives, especially on cloudy, rainy, overcast days. As I said, the sulfurs too. Those will be hatching right now in the upper river. Caddis will be hatching. They've been hatching since April and May, and those will go all the way till November. Those are also a good bet. And then something overlooked, but very productive, is fishing ants and beetles. I like to tie them with foam and slower water under trees. That's a great day, midday bet. And streamers too. Streamers you can do well early in the morning or in the evening. Yesterday morning, my friend and I, who's also a guide for the shop, went to the Farmington in the morning with streamers. I picked up 7 fish. My best was 16 inches. He picked up 3. His best was 18. So anything's a good bet. It's just time of day. Learn what's hatching. Look at the bugs on the water. If there's trout feeding and you can see them coming up and eating bugs on the top, look at what they're feeding on and match it to that. That river right now is also, I'd say, it's prime time. A lot of fish are active. The weather's hot. Their metabolisms are in high gear. So if you want to catch trout, go to the Farmington. It's a great time. If you want to catch smallmouth and other warm water species, go to the Houstonic. Also a great time for that.
All right, great. Well, I'll give you an opportunity to really recap and say anything else to the viewers. But right after that, I just have a couple things I want to say regarding CT Bait Shop stuff.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Cool, so the recap, as I said, I'm a guide. My name's Tristan. I've been guiding for 3 years. I'm 22. If you book with me on the water, the best way to book with me is through Houstonic River Outfitters, the shop on the Houstonic. You can expect a day of just relaxation, fun fishing, and learning a thing or two. And please, use my river report. I just stay with Dylan. Go out there, have fun, catch some fish, but also follow regulations, be courteous to other anglers. Always be cool, everyone on the water. And I hope you guys enjoyed the interview with me today.
All right, well, thank you. Just a couple things to recap. Today on the Bait Shop Stop page, I posted a couple of upcoming trips that we have, places where we're going to be hitting next. A couple of, we're going to try to hit some places in different areas. So let's say there's 3 shops located in one spot of the state. We're going to try to hit those in one day. But yeah, just stay tuned to the page for that. Another thing is we're going to be selling those t-shirts that I posted up until Monday night, I believe I said. And yeah, they're really cool shirts. The more we buy, the less expensive they're going to be for everyone. Not really trying to make any profit off this, just want to have our shirts on people's chests, really, our logo. And yeah, stickers are on sale too. I put $5 a piece on those. But yeah, that's all we have for today. Thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.
Cool. Thanks, Dylan.
Thank you.
You're the